Hi, folks. I am your host and you are watching the Blazing Star TV News. What happens if a US presidential election ends in a tie? A tied US presidential election is extremely rare, but the Constitution does have a plan in place if it ever happens again. Here's a look at how a tie could play out and what it would mean for the country. The history of electoral ties, only once so far. A tie in the Electoral College has only happened once in US history. In the election of 1800. That year, candidates Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr each received 73 electoral votes. The Constitution had no clear answer for this situation, resulting in a deadlock that took the House of Representatives 36 rounds of voting to finally break. Jefferson was eventually declared the third US president. Since then, amendments and legal adjustments have helped clarify the process for handling ties, and today's political landscape has mechanisms in place to prevent or resolve an electoral deadlock. But what exactly would happen if the US ended up in a tie today?
The constitutional process. House and Senate make the final call. The U.S. Constitution outlines a process to handle electoral ties in Article 2, Section 1. If neither candidate reaches the 270 electoral vote majority needed to win, the House of Representatives would choose the president. Each state delegation in the House gets one vote, regardless of the number of representatives. To win, a candidate would need a majority of state delegation votes, currently 26 out of 50. Meanwhile, the Senate would choose the vice president in the same situation. Senators would each have one vote, with a majority of 51 votes required to elect the vice president. This could result in a split, where the president and vice president are from opposing political parties. Potential complications, delays and deadlocks in Congress. A tied election outcome could lead to delays and prolonged debate in Congress, especially if the House and Senate are controlled by different parties. This political dynamic could further complicate and potentially extend the process, similar to the lengthy House votes in the 1800 election. What about faithless electors? Another twist in the Electoral College system is the concept of faithless electors, electors who do not vote for the candidate they pledged to support. Only half of U.S. states require electors to vote in line with the popular vote. In the unlikely event that an elector votes against the state's popular choice, it could disrupt the electoral count and potentially contribute to a tie.
What happens if Congress doesn't decide by Inauguration Day? If the House is unable to choose a president by January 20th, the newly elected vice president, as chosen by the Senate, would step in as acting president until the House reaches a decision. This constitutional provision ensures that there is no gap in presidential leadership, even in a rare scenario where a tie prolongs the process. In summary, a tie in a US presidential election would be an extraordinary event, but the Constitution has a clear plan in place. If a 269 to 269 electoral split were to happen, the House of Representatives would vote on the president, and the Senate would vote on the vice president. While this process has only been needed once in history, it remains a vital backstop, ensuring that even in the rare event of an electoral tie, the country has a clear path forward